My phone flashes. Coverage suspended. The same son-in-law who once slapped me and demanded my house keys now dares to brand me dangerous. I grip the keys tighter, set a 7:30 countdown, and head for the barbecue, where his lies will ignite and the crowd will finally see the truth. The key turned red in the lock, a faint click that told me I was shut out. I rattled it again, harder, as if force alone might make the door remember me. The porch light hummed above my head, drawing every glance from the street. "Stop wasting your time, old man." Chase leaned against the doorframe, arms folded, grin wide enough for the neighbors to catch. "You don't live here anymore." My fingers trembled around the brass key I had used for 20 years. "This is my house, Chase. You can't just—" "I can," he cut me off. "HOA knows it, neighbors know it, and now you do." Across the lawn, Mrs. Fletcher pretended to prune her hedges. A man with his dog slowed, tugging the leash just enough to stay within earshot. Their eyes weighed me heavier than the key in my hand. "Give me space," I said, trying to step forward. Chase blocked me with one arm. "Space? That's the point. You take too much of it. You're a parasite here." His voice carried across the cul-de-sac, meant for every ear but mine. A line burned in my chest, humiliation mixed with fury. Shame surged as I fumbled my useless key. "You think you can erase me with words?" I said, steadying my voice. "You've already erased yourself. Look at you." He gestured toward my car at the curb, dented and fading, then to the cheap jacket on my shoulders. "Everyone sees it." The dog barked once. Mrs. Fletcher's clippers froze mid-snip. "Get off my porch," Chase said. "No!" My answer came sharper than I expected, slicing the silence. "You don't get to decide who belongs in my home." For a moment he blinked, then shoved me back a step. Not hard enough to bruise, but enough to brand the moment. The crowd of eyes sealed it, his victory, my humiliation. The key slipped from my fingers, clattering on the porch tiles. I bent to pick it up, slower than I'd like, knowing they all saw. When I straightened, Chase was already inside, door closing with a heavy click. The brass key, cold and lifeless, pressed into my palm. Around me, the neighbors lingered, pretending to care for their hedges or check their phones, but really watching me stand outside my own door, locked out. The clerk slid the paper across the counter without looking up. The sharp thump of the rubber stamp still echoed in my ears. Meeting in 48 hours. The scarlet ink cut deeper than Chase's shove. "I'm here to file a complaint," I said, voice steady. "I was locked out of my own house." The clerk adjusted her glasses, still not meeting my eyes. "Sir, your access status has been temporarily suspended. Board matter. Next session we'll review it." I pressed the folded deed against the counter. "That's my property. You can't call it access status. It's my home." Her eyes flicked to the paper, then back to her computer screen. "You can bring documents to the board. Procedures must be followed." I wanted to slam the counter, but the quiet hum of the printer and the line of residents behind me held me in check. A stamped line can erase a man faster than a shove. My phone buzzed. A text from Lena. "Dad, stop. Don't make this worse. Chase says you're only embarrassing yourself." I typed back with shaking thumbs. "I'm not the one breaking locks." The dots blinked, then vanished. No reply. The clerk pushed the stamped notice closer. "Here are the details. Wednesday at 7 p.m. Bring your packet. Stay within your 5-minute slot." I let the keys in my pocket dig into my palm. They had no use at the door. No use here. "You know," I said, sliding the notice off the counter, "a deed means more than a packet. And sooner or later, someone's going to remember that." Her mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, not quite a frown. "Next." I stepped aside, clutching the paper. The red stamp glared through the thin sheet, a countdown I could not ignore. Outside, sunlight bounced off the glass doors, too bright, too harsh. Neighbors passed, some nodding politely, others glancing at the paper in my hand as if it branded me. I folded it once, then twice, but the words burned through. Meeting in 48 hours. The projector light washed over the HOA hall, bleaching faces into masks. I stood at the edge of the long folding table, a stack of envelopes sweating in my hands. Keys dug into my pocket, teeth pressing crescents into my palm. "These are my property tax bills," I said, fanning them across the table so every board member could see the city seal. "Paid every year, in my name. You cannot call me a trespasser in my own house." A murmur fluttered through the rows of chairs. Mrs. Fletcher, who had pretended to trim her hedges when Chase shoved me off my porch, leaned forward. A man near the back whispered, "He's right. That's his place." For a brief moment, my voice seemed to steady the room. Then Chase rose slowly, like a man savoring the moment. "Proof, Marty?" His grin spread as he carried a slim laptop to the front. "Let me show them mine." The HOA chair frowned. "Mr. Lawson, it'll take just a minute." Chase cut in smoothly, connecting the cable with practiced ease. A low hum filled the room. The white wall flared to life, painting every face ghost pale. The video played. Me, fumbling with the door, muttering as I shook the knob, then ramming my shoulder against the frame. The timestamp blinked red in the corner like a warning light. "Ladies and gentlemen," Chase said, voice oily with fake patience, "this is what we've endured. Agitated behavior, forced entry attempts, disturbing the peace. Look carefully. Look at him." Gasps rose like a single breath. A woman whispered, "Unstable." Someone else muttered, "Shouldn't be alone." Mrs. Fletcher's hand flew to her chest. My mouth went dry. The screen glared, turning me into a stranger. My gestures jagged, my face twisted. Watching my life turned into a lie on a screen. "That's cut!" I barked, throat raw. "Play the part you removed." "The part where you changed the lock." Chase smirked. "There is no such part." The gavel cracked. The chair's voice wavered between authority and exhaustion. "Enough. No crosstalk. The board will review all materials at the proper time." I slapped my palm against the table. "That's my home, my taxes, my deed." "Mr. Hughes," the chair snapped. Another bang of the gavel drowned me out. "Order! This matter is tabled pending verification." Laughter rippled somewhere in the back. My eyes sought Lena. She sat near the corner, shoulders rigid, phone in her lap. She didn't look at me, not once. That silence screamed louder than the projector. I gathered my bills with stiff fingers, papers slipping, edges cutting my skin. The chair's notes blurred. Review delayed. As I turned, the projector still hummed. The frozen frame held. Me shoving my own door. Timestamp blinking. Neighbors avoided my gaze. Some leaned together, whispering. Others raised phones, recording. Evidence twisted into spectacle. The gavel fell one last time. Meeting adjourned. I gripped my keys until they cut deep. They had opened every door of my life. But here, in this hall, they were nothing but dead metal. Tools of ownership once. Now only evidence of a man shut out. Gloria chose the diner with the sticky laminate tables and the coffee that could sand paint. The bell over the door gave a tired ring when I walked in. I'd slept maybe 2 hours, the rest spent staring at the ceiling and replaying the doctored video until the dark felt bright. She waved from a corner booth. "Marty." I slid in, set my keys on the table like a small, dented animal. The waitress topped off both mugs without asking, her wrist moving on muscle memory. The coffee smelled like burned toast and stubborn mornings. "You look like hell," Gloria said, and not unkindly. "Close enough." I wrapped both hands around the mug. "Last night, I heard," she lowered her voice. "Half the street did. The clip was ugly." "It wasn't true," I said. "He cut it. He cut me." She tapped the keys with one finger. "These still mean something. Not when a room decides they don't." Gloria glanced toward the window, where a kid pressed his face to the glass and fogged it, tracing a smiley before his mother tugged him away. "Rooms can change their minds," she said. "People can too." My phone buzzed. "Lena, please stop dragging people into this. You're making it worse." I stared at the screen a long second, then typed back. "Truth isn't a stranger." The 3 dots appeared, then died. Gloria watched my face. "She in his corner?" "She's in the middle of the house I paid for," I said. "He's loud. That counts for more than it should. The waitress slid a plate of eggs and toast onto the table. You want hot sauce? Please, I said. My voice sounded older than I felt. Gloria didn't touch her food. I need to tell you something. I didn't say anything yesterday well, because Chase has a way of turning things back on people. Say it, I said. She leaned in. A week before the lock change, I was at the clubhouse making copies. Chase came in with one of the younger board guys. You know, the earnest one with the narrow tie. They didn't see me behind the copier. Chase said, "Give me a week and the board will vote the old man out. Just follow my lead." The other one laughed. Heat climbed my neck. You're sure? I'm sure. She nodded once, sharp. And yesterday after the meeting, I heard him again near the parking lot. The clip was perfect. Tell them to stall. He likes the sound of his own winnings. I gripped the edge of the table. Would you say that to the board? Gloria looked at the ceiling tiles as if the answer might be written there. Hearsay, they'll say. They always do. They will, I said, until we give them a reason not to. My phone buzzed again, this time an automated HOA email. Subject line, board review, tentative agenda. I opened it. A banner at the top in blue. Review item scheduled in 10 days. Below it, Rios M. Access complaint. The font was clinical. The line hit like a verdict. 10 days, I said, showing her the screen. She squinted. Good. Time to breathe and not much time to waste. I tasted the coffee. It bit back. Last night I stood in a room and watched them choose a lie. I can't do that twice. Gloria reached across the table, not to take my hand but to still it. You won't be alone next time. You're sure? She nodded again, slower. I know what he said. I know who he said it to. I'll say that on record if I have to. The waitress hovered, refilled our mugs. You folks doing okay? Getting there, Gloria said. I pushed the eggs around with my fork. You realize he'll come after you for this. Let him, she said. I've got 2 sons bigger than he is and a memory longer than his attention span. A laugh escaped me, surprising and short. The room felt a shade less heavy. Gloria tapped the keys again, a tiny metronome on the table. Take a picture of that email, she said. Archive it. You'll want the header if they pretend they never sent it. I raised my phone, snapped the screen, the blue banner, the line with my name. The camera sound felt ceremonial. Good, she said. Now eat. I tried. The toast rasped the roof of my mouth. Outside, a gull hopped along the curb and eyed an abandoned fry like it had found treasure. I cleared my throat. Gloria, if you had to say one thing at a meeting, just one line that people would repeat after they went home, what would it be? She didn't hesitate. That I heard him plan it. That I heard him brag. That he said the words, vote the old man out. I sat back. The diner's ceiling fan clicked softly, steady and unbothered. One nod from a neighbor can weigh more than a roomful of silence, I said. Maybe it's yours. She slid a napkin across to me. Maybe it's ours. My phone lit again. No name, just a new number. When I answered, the line hissed. A man's voice, quick and too friendly. Mr. Rios, this is Darren from the committee. Heard you're making a stink. Best thing for everyone is to drop it. Which committee? I asked. The one that keeps the neighborhood peaceful. The smile in his voice sharpened. 10 days is plenty of time to calm down. Gloria mouthed. Who? I put the call on speaker. You calling as a neighbor, Darren? I said, or on Chase's behalf? Sir, we just don't want drama. You already have drama, I said. You just want the credits to roll before anyone reads the names. He hung up. Gloria's eyebrows rose. That'll be one more thing I can say. They're leaning on you to quit. Let them lean, I said. I've carried heavier. The bell over the door rang again. A few HOA regulars wandered in, gave us side glances, sat at the counter like they could listen without looking. The waitress pretended not to notice. Gloria pushed her mug away. I'll talk when it counts. And one more thing. What? I kept the flyer from last month's policy change, she said. The one Chase waved around like scripture? It was a draft, not adopted yet. That helps? It helps them squirm, she said. And sometimes that's enough to make the truth loosen its knots. I slid the keys off the table and into my pocket, feeling their shape against my leg. Outside, the gull gave up on the fry and shot into the bright heat, a flick of white on white. Gloria stood. 10 days, she said, nodding at my phone. I'll be there. I know what he said, and I'll testify. I paid the check, left too much cash because the waitress had refilled without judgment. At the door, I looked back. The booth, the mugs, the napkin with nothing written on it, and everything agreed. The bell gave one last tired ring as we stepped into the sun, and I held the phone high enough that the blue banner glowed again. Review in 10 days. It wasn't a victory, not yet. It was a line on a clock. Sometimes that's the same thing. Gloria's porch smelled like cut grass and citronella. The boards creaked when I stepped up, and a ceiling fan whirred above, trying and failing to push the late heat away. She had 2 mugs waiting, steam curling into the dusk. Evening, Marty. Evening. I sat, keys jangling in my pocket. I didn't want to set them out tonight. She slid one mug across. Chamomile, strong enough to settle your hands. They're not shaking, I said. They are. She smiled, soft but certain. I wrapped both palms around the cup. The heat steadied me, just like she knew it would. Her son's voice floated from inside. Mom, want me to stay out here? No, honey, we're fine, she called back. A screen door thudded. I took a sip. The tea was bitter at first, then calmer. You said yesterday you heard him. She nodded. More than once. First time was at the clubhouse. He told young Trevor, give me a week and the board will vote the old man out. Just follow my lead. Clear as day. The words hit the porch like stones dropped in a pond. Ripples, going out and out. I breathed through my nose. And you'll say that? In front of them? I will. She leaned forward, elbows on knees. I'm not a lawyer, but I know when a man brags about fixing the game. They can't pretend that's nothing. My phone buzzed. A voicemail alert. I pressed play. Lena's voice, tired and edged. Dad, stop dragging the neighborhood into your mess. It's embarrassing. Please. The message clicked off. Gloria's eyes softened. She doesn't understand. She understands plenty, I said. She just wants quiet, no matter who gets trampled. I thumbed the screen, muttering low. It was never my mess until you made it one. Gloria reached into a canvas tote by her chair and pulled out a sheet of paper folded twice. This might help. Remember the policy change Chase waved around last month? Said it proved you had no standing? I unfolded the sheet. Across the top, in pale letters, the word draft bled through like a watermark. This was never adopted, she said. I grabbed a copy before they finalized minutes. He's been wielding a draft like gospel. I held it against the porch light. The faint letters glowed. They'll deny they used it. Then let them deny it, she said. At least now you can force the question. I slipped it into my jacket, pressing the paper flat against my ribs. Keys clinked as I tucked them alongside. Gloria sat back. There's one more thing. After the meeting in the parking lot, he bragged again. Said, the clip was perfect. Tell them to stall. He wants you ground down by the weight. A breeze rattled the chimes. I stared at them until they stopped. You'll say that too? She met my eyes. Under oath if I have to. Silence settled. The streetlights blinked on one by one, stretching the shadows across her yard. One neighbor's vow, I said quietly, can sound louder than a gavel. She lifted her mug. Then let it be mine. We drank, the porch fan humming above us. My phone buzzed again, an email notification. Subject line, agenda reminder, 8 days remaining. I showed her the screen. They're counting down. Good, she said. So are we. The HOA lobby smelled like lemon cleaner and old carpet. A copier chattered behind a half wall, the kind of office sound that makes people obey without knowing why. Gloria and I stood near the corkboard where laminated rules hung in polite fonts. Chase lounged by the water cooler, thumb skimming his phone like this was sport. Madam Chair, I said as she swept by with a manila folder, my neighbor has something to put on the record. Gloria lifted her chin. I overheard Mr. Whitaker twice planning to vote the old man out and telling someone to stall after he played the clip. Those were his words. The chair didn't slow. Ma'am, unless you submit a written statement and unless it is corroborated, I can't accept hallway remarks. It wasn't a hallway, Gloria said, heat creeping into her voice. It was the clubhouse office in the parking lot. The clerk appeared, arms full of binders, eager to be useful. Hearsay, unfortunately. Chase's reflection grinned at us from the glass of the locked bulletin case. You folks should relax, he said without looking up. Process takes time. I stepped between him and the chair's path. You don't need a stamp to hear the truth. The chair finally met my eyes. What I need, Mr. Rios, is order. Submit documents, not accusations. Gloria held out the folded draft flyer she'd given me last night. He waved this around like it was a rule. It's labeled draft. The clerk put up both hands. Please, no filings over the counter. The board packet for today is fixed. Chase took a long, satisfied sip of water. Rules are rules, he said. Lena brushed past with a tight smile, smelling like shampoo and worry. Dad, she whispered, please don't make this worse. Just wait for the next meeting. I've been waiting, I said, keeping my voice low, since the day he changed the lock. She looked at Chase and he gave her a reassuring shrug that didn't reach his eyes. She stepped back, torn in half. The sight of it hurt worse than the shove had. Gloria cleared her throat. Then put me on the next agenda. I'll speak in open session. That's not how testimony works, the chair said, already moving again. If you want to address the board, request time in writing. Fine, Gloria said. Consider this the request. The clerk scribbled on a sticky note, checked a box that meant nothing. We'll see what fits. I tried to stand steady, but the keys in my pocket bit into my palm as if they wanted out. Nothing's lonelier than truth. No one will record. Mr. Rios, the chair said, tone softening a fraction. Bringing an angry group into the lobby won't help your case. I brought a witness, I said. You brought a wall. Chase finally looked up. Awfully dramatic for a man who doesn't even live here. Say that on the record, I said, pivoting toward him. He smiled. Happy to, when it's my turn. Gloria stepped between us. I heard you, Chase, twice, and I'm not the only one. Name them, he said, smooth as glass. Start with me, she shot back. The clerk coughed, eager to reset the scene. If there's nothing else, I need to post the agenda. She lifted a plastic latch on the bulletin case. Inside, the week's agenda waited on pushpins, the way a trapped butterfly waits under glass. She slid in a second sheet, updates, then, almost absently, moved the top row of pins higher, beyond easy reach. The paper rode up under the plexi, neat and safe from fingertips. Wait, I said, more to the room than to anyone. You're telling me a neighbor can be shoved off his own porch, and the only words that count are the ones printed by people who won't listen? The chair closed the case with a click that sounded like the end of something. We'll review what's appropriate. Please don't block the hall. Lena touched my sleeve. Please, Dad. Go home. Where would that be? I asked, and I didn't mean it to cut, but it did. Her hand fell. She moved to Chase's side, not touching him, not touching him. He gave me that soft, mock-concerned frown he wears the way other men wear cologne. Gloria leaned close. We file the request tonight, she murmured. If they stall, we read it at open mic. Make them stop us. I nodded, swallowing the grit in my throat. Around us, the copier hummed again, pages slapping out like a metronome for people who measure lives in stapled packets. Mr. Rios, the clerk said, pointing to the door, you're welcome to attend next week's session. 5 minutes during public comment. How generous, I said. What will you do with the 6th? Chase laughed. You really should save your breath. I'll save it for the microphone, I said, and for the part of the video you cut. His jaw twitched, just a flicker, but I saw it. So did Gloria. The chair gathered her folder to leave. We're done here. I looked back at the bulletin board. The agenda sat behind the plexi, paragraphs stacked in polite order, safe from hands that might rearrange them. I lifted my arm, ridiculous as it felt, and found the top row of pushpins just out of reach. "Sir," the clerk said, warning and weariness braided together. I lowered my hand. The lemon cleaner smell grew sharper, as if someone had just wiped away another complaint. "Come on," Gloria said. "We've got words to put on paper." "Paper they'll ignore," I said. "Paper they can't erase," she answered. I took one last look at the board. The glass caught my reflection and Chase's behind me, distorted by the fluorescent glare. I couldn't tell which face the room believed, only which one the pins protected. Outside, the evening heat pressed against the door. I stepped into it anyway. Behind me, I heard the soft, satisfied tap of the chair's shoes on tile, and, after a beat, the latch to the bulletin case settling home. I stood on the sidewalk and stared back through the glass. The agenda rode high, clean and unreachable. I let my keys sit heavy in my pocket and watched the paper I needed hover a few inches above my hand. By the time I found a seat, the room had that pre-storm hush, air thick with people trying to read each other without moving their mouths. The projector sat on a rolling cart like a threat with a power cord. My keys clicked once in my fist, a nervous metronome I couldn't quiet. "Next item," the chair said, voice clipped. "Access complaint, Rios." Chairs scraped. Neighbors straightened as if the flag had just been raised. Gloria lifted a hand halfway, then lowered it when the chair didn't look her way. Lena chose the back row, spine upright, eyes on her lap. I stood with my folder. "Property taxes paid in my name." Chase glided to the cart. "We've all heard Mr. Rios's paperwork recital." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Tonight, let's let the facts speak for themselves." "Mr. Whitaker," the chair began. "Play it," he told the clerk, who looked to the chair, then to Chase, then pressed the spacebar. Light washed the wall. The room turned movie theater quiet. The clip began with me at my own door, key failing, my voice cut to jagged mutters. The timestamp blinked in the lower right, a red pulse, a metronome of guilt. Then the lurch, my shoulder colliding with the frame, the sound of impact too loud for the truth it replaced. A phone rose 2 rows ahead, then another. Tiny rectangles captured me being turned into a problem. Shame burned hotter than the projector lamp. "Notice the pattern," Chase narrated, as if it were a nature documentary. "This is not a man who should be living unsupervised." A ripple went through the room. Someone whispered, "Poor Lena." Another, "Security risk." I heard Gloria inhale. The chair lifted her gavel just enough to keep people from forgetting she had one. "Stop," I said. "Run it from the minute before. Run it with sound." Chase tilted his head. "There is no minute before." "There is," I said, measuring the words. "Play the part you cut." He faced the audience, not me. "This is the file the device saved." The chair rapped wood. "We will not litigate edits in open session." "It's not an edit debate," I said. "It's a truth debate." "Order," she said, louder, to the clerk. "Continue." The clip looped. My shoulder, the door, the timestamp pulsing like a wound that wouldn't clot. The phones kept filming, point-of-view soldiers in someone else's war. Lena's screen stayed dark. She clenched it in both hands as if she could keep me from spilling out of it. Chase folded his arms. "This has been hard on the family," he said, voice syruped with concern. "We only want what's safe." "Safe for who?" I asked. "For everyone," he said to the room, skipping my face completely. Gloria rose from the second row. "Madam Chair, I have information." "Ms. Ramirez," the chair said, "you will request time in writing." "She heard you," I told Chase. "Parking lot, clubhouse office. Vote the old man out. Your words." He didn't blush. He never does. People mishear things when they're excited. I took a breath and kept my voice low and even. The camera doesn't mishear. It shows when someone changes a lock and calls it safety. Run the part you're hiding. A couple near the aisle shifted, embarrassed for me. The chair clicked her pen, clicked it again, as if the sound could keep pace with the flickering time code. Enough, she said. The board is tabling the matter pending verification of all submitted materials. She looked down at her paper as if reading absolved her. Per our bylaws, we will reconvene on this item after an internal review period. How long? I asked. She didn't answer at first. Chase did. 2 weeks is standard, isn't it? The clerk, grateful for something to do, nodded. We'll note a 2-week adjournment in the minutes. There it was, policy draped like velvet over a trap. A murmur rolled through the seats. Some nodded, relieved to have a number to hide behind. I looked at Lena. She met my eyes for half a second, then looked down. That half second hurt worse than the rest. I tried one last time. If you're going to let a screen decide who I am, at least make it an honest one. The chair sighed. Mr. Rios, further outbursts will end your comment time. I haven't had any, I said. Just a verdict without a hearing. She lifted the gavel another inch. Adjourned on this item. Next on the agenda, the phones lowered. The projector hummed through its own afterglow. Neighbors stood, collecting purses and opinions. Chase unplugged the cable with a flourish, a stagehand might envy. He passed close enough that I could smell his cologne. Something expensive that wanted to smell like victory. Hard night, he whispered. I'm sorry it has to be this way. I leaned toward him, not enough to be read as a threat, just enough to be heard. You keep saying, has to be, when you mean, I want it to be. He smiled. See you in 2 weeks. I let my keys fall into my palm and closed my fist. They were heavier than metal had any right to be. Gloria touched my sleeve. We'll get the right file, she said. We will, I said, my voice steady now, because steadiness was the only thing I had left to spend. The chair recorded something in the margins of her paperwork. The clerk read the next agenda line into the microphone. People turned their bodies away from me as if their backs were softer than their faces. When I finally stepped into the aisle, I could feel the shape of the night hardening. A room that had watched a lie twice and called it order. I walked out without looking back at the wall. I didn't need to. The after image of that red time code blinked on the inside of my eyelids, all the way to the door. Victor's garage office looked like a radio swallowed a computer store. Coils of cable hung from pegboard. A soldering iron slept in its cradle, and an old box fan pushed warm night air past a tower of dusty speakers. Gloria and I stood in the doorway until he looked up from a half-open desktop. You're Rios, he said, wiping his hands on a shop towel. His eyes flicked to Gloria. And you're the one who overheard the parking lot pep talk. That's me, Gloria said. He needs your kind of help. I slid the USB across his workbench. It clipped a nick in the wood, spun once, and came to rest by a ring of coffee stain. My keys clicked stupidly against the metal stool when I sat. I couldn't keep them from tapping. Victor plugged the drive into a thin laptop patched with electrician's tape. The monitor woke in a cold blue sheen that made my knuckles look older. Ring file? From the front door, I said. What got played at the meeting was cut. I need the part before that. He nodded like he'd already decided whether that was likely. Ring compresses clips. If the network hiccups, it drops frames. Some models do weird things with audio. He glanced at me. Weird things don't equal malice, you understand. Someone made a choice, I said. I felt it. He didn't disagree. He pulled up a utility, the kind with too many panes. On screen, a thumbnail grid filled with silent duplicates of my own porch. Daylight, twilight, darkness, then the freeze frame I hated. He clicked the file Chase had weaponized. The picture stuttered in, soundless. I watched myself shove the door. The timestamp pulsed in the lower right, spiteful as a slow siren. Victor scrubbed backward. The scrubber gave a hiccup, a missing notch of time. See? I said too fast. Maybe, he said. He opened a second window with file details I didn't pretend to understand. There's a gap. Could be packet loss. Could be manual trim. This utility can't tell me which. Can you tell me? He leaned in, frowning as if the screen were trying to sass him. Not tonight. He dragged a small slider, and the video revealed a glitched frame. My face sliced by digital noise into jagged slats. A stranger made from me. He clicked again and the audio track appeared as a thin ribbon. flatline, then jagged chatter. My throat tightened. The file stutters, fragments of my own voice twisted against me. Gloria put a hand on the back of my chair. Can you get what's missing? If it exists on the chip, maybe. He kept his voice calm, the way a good mechanic tells you your engine might be fine after you've heard it scream. If the clip was trimmed before export, we're hunting ghosts. But he toggled a little checkbox and the player hiccuped forward, then back, like it had remembered a step. There's residue. That's promising. My phone buzzed, a voicemail from Lena. I didn't want to play it here, but the icon glowed like an order, so I put it on speaker. Dad, I saw more comments online. People are saying you rushed the door. This is getting ugly. Please just let it go. Gloria winced. Victor didn't turn away from the screen. I swallowed and kept my tone steady. If the truth is in there, I said to the room and to my daughter, I won't quit. The message clicked off. No second line. No, love you. Victor rotated the laptop toward us. Here. He pulled the window away from thumbnails and opened the clip at quarter speed. The glitched frame became a smear, then a ghostly step backward. He isolated 3 seconds I'd never seen. The image showed the door before my shoulder hit it, the knob jerking, not from me, but from the inside. The sound was a watery crackle, then one phrase rose out like a coin pulled from mud. No space here. I gripped the stool. You heard that? I did, Gloria said, breathless. Victor nodded once. I can't certify it yet. The waveform is dirty, but there's a word shape in there. Space. I'll need to run cleanup. Maybe try to reconstruct neighboring packets. Packets, I repeated, the words suddenly holy. He smirked. Tech prayer. He opened another tool. 2 things. 1, don't promise anybody I can do more than the file can yield. 2, I need uninterrupted time. How much? I asked. He checked a little panel, then shrugged. Give me 48 hours. I'll try 3 approaches. Temporal interpolation, shadow cache scrape, and a blind channel pass on the audio. If there's genuine pre-roll, I'll pull it. Gloria squeezed my shoulder. 48 hours is good. It's also a lifetime, I said, keys tapping the stool rung again, until I forced my hand flat on my thigh. Victor glanced at my pocket. Keys get heavy when a house is stubborn. They used to fit like a handshake, I said. Now they feel like court summons. He nodded without pity. We'll see if the video remembers the handshake. He drew a small rectangle around the timecode, notating something I couldn't read. Also, chain of custody. I'm making a working copy. Original stays untouched. When I'm done, I'll show you the file info so you can tell any room what changed and what didn't. Thank you, I said. The words came out rough. He waved it off. I like puzzles more than bullies. Gloria checked her watch. We should let him work. On our way out, the box fan coughed, the blades rattling like an old drawer. I paused at the door and looked back at the screen. My porch jittered there, a haunted postcard. Victor didn't look up. His hands were already moving. Keys clacking, windows opening, the cursor nibbling at the exact place where my life had been cut. In the parking strip, cicadas screamed. I stood under a streetlight and let them drown out the memory of the room that had chosen a lie. Gloria touched my elbow. You okay? No, I said, but I'm closer. The voicemail icon still glowed on my phone. I flicked it away and set a timer, 48 minutes. The numbers stacked like a dare. Gloria pointed at the screen through the window. He looks like the kind of man who keeps promises. I need just one promise to hold, I said, and my voice didn't shake. Back inside, Victor raised a hand without turning. 48 hours, he called, over the fan and the hum and the soft, relentless tick of the on-screen counter. We'll see what was really cut. The city sedan rolled to a stop 2 houses down, white door decal catching the sun. I watched from Gloria's driveway with my hands in my pockets so the keys wouldn't give me away. The inspector stepped out, khakis, clipboard, a face practiced at not being surprised. He rapped on my front door. Chase opened with his best concerned citizen smile. 2 rolling suitcases bumped in the hall behind him, then paused like they knew they were evidence. Afternoon, the inspector said. We've had complaints about short-term rentals. He angled the clipboard so the seal flashed. Are you the owner? Chase didn't flinch. Family manager. He shifted to block the view of the suitcases. We host relatives from out of town. A couple with beach bags squeezed past him, eyes down, wheels chattering over the threshold. The inspector's eyebrows rose a tick. Relatives. Cousins, Chase said. Second cousins. Big family. Names? Chase turned and called into the house. You two, tell him who you are. The two hesitated, then offered waves without words like background actors terrified of lines. The inspector clicked his pen once, a small, patient sound that said he'd seen this movie. He leaned, peered into the foyer. A mini welcome board read, Sunny Stay Rules, in marker with bullet points about towels and checkout. Relatives like rules, I muttered under my breath. Gloria elbowed me gently. The inspector stepped inside 2 paces, scanning. How often do these relatives visit? Couple weekends a month, Chase said easily. We're generous people. The inspector scribbled, then glanced past Chase and made eye contact with me over his shoulder, like he'd heard the quiet math in his own notes. Sir, he said to Chase, city code doesn't allow short-term rentals in this zone without a conditional use permit. Hope lifted like a kite in wind. I pictured the clipboard stamp coming down, steady and square. We're not renting, Chase said, casual. Like I said, family. The inspector nodded once, then once more like he was counting to 2 before a third thing. Do you have any documentation stating you're authorized to manage the property? Chase's smile widened. Absolutely. He reached to a side table and produced a sheet of paper he'd kept ready. He held it sideways so the inspector could see a signature that looked like Lena's from across a room. Authorization letter. The inspector took it, scanned fast. His mouth made a tight line. There's no notary seal. It's a family authorization. Chase gave a little helpless shrug for the neighbors gathering on the sidewalk. Not everything needs a seal. City permits do, the inspector said. He glanced at the suitcases. And guess who pay are not family. Chase's voice softened to syrup. No one is paying. We're helping. It's a tough economy. The couple with the beach bags looked at each other like they just learned they were cousins. The woman tucked a printout, house manual, deeper into her tote. The inspector walked a small circle, taking in the welcome board, the extra shampoo bottles lined up in a little hotel row, the lockbox screwed beside the door frame. He tapped the lockbox with his pen. What's that for? Emergency, Chase said. We care about safety. Keys pushed hard into my palm. I kept my face still. The inspector wrote 3 lines on his clipboard, neat, practiced strokes. I'm noting an apparent violation, he said. We will follow up. Great, I said, unable to help it. Thank you. Chase's eyes flicked to me, then back to the inspector. Follow up on what? You have my letter. He pointed at the signature again like it could hypnotize. The homeowner's daughter approves. The inspector let the page dangle between 2 fingers. He looked at the doorframe, the guests, the lockbox, then back at the paper. The tight line returned to his mouth. If this letter were notarized, or if a permit existed, this would be simpler. So we're good, Chase said quickly. Glad we cleared it up. The inspector didn't agree. He didn't disagree. He wrote more. The neighborhood leaned in. Even the gulls quieted on the power line like they wanted to hear the verdict. He closed the clipboard with a small slap. I'll be in touch within 5 business days, he said. He stepped past Chase, then paused and lowered his voice so only the porch could hear. Don't host more relatives while we review. Wouldn't dream of it, Chase said, already dreaming of it. The inspector's eyes flicked to me again as he stepped off the porch. Something in them said, I saw what I saw. Something else said, paper still wins today. He reached the sidewalk where I stood with Gloria. Sir, he said to me, careful. Thank you for your civic attention. Will there be a citation? I asked. He glanced back at the letter in his hand. I have to verify authorizations before assessing fines. He almost added, unfortunately, then swallowed it back the way city workers do. Chase called after him, voice bright enough for the block. "Appreciate your time, officer. Sorry you got dragged into a family thing." "That man could bottle smug," Gloria whispered. "He already does," I said. "He calls it cologne." The inspector reached his sedan. He hesitated with the door open, studying the letter again. "Letter authorizes it," he muttered. "Not to us, not to anyone, just to the heir that would have to carry it to a supervisor." Then he slid in, shut the door and drove off. Neighbors drifted back to their sprinklers and front steps, talking softly. The suitcases bumped down my front path toward a rideshare idling at the curb. Chase waved the paper once more like a flag and tucked it away with a tiny flourish. He looked across the street at me and spread his hands. "What a shame. Rules are rules." Then shut the door to my house. Hope that had flown a moment before simmered down and folded on itself. Hope spikes, then guts drop as paper trumps witness eyes. My phone buzzed. A voicemail from Lena. "Dad, why are you spying on Chase again? This isn't helping." I stared at the siding of my own house and let the message finish. "I'm not spying," I said, to the phone, to the dog walker, to the air. "I'm waiting for someone to do their job." Gloria pulled a breath through her teeth. "5 business days," she said. "We'll mark each one." "I already am," I said. The keys were hot now. I kept them in my pocket. The porch across the street looked bright, polite, and for now, perfectly authorized. By Thursday night, the HOA room felt smaller, as if the walls had leaned in to hear gossip better. The inspector's sedan wasn't outside, but his presence rode in with me anyway. The weight of a clipboard and a city seal I could still see when I blinked. "Next," the chair said, tapping the mic. "Short-term rental complaint associated with the Rios property." Gloria squeezed my elbow on the way to a chair. "Keep it clean," she murmured. "Let the seal do the talking." Chase was already at the aisle, talking in low confidence to 2 board members, like a man giving a toast before the cake's even cut. He didn't look at me. He didn't need to. The smile said it all. The show would go on his way. I stood when the chair nodded. "Madam Chair, the city inspector visited this afternoon. He saw rolling suitcases, a lockbox, a welcome board. He said, on the porch, that the code prohibits short-term rentals here without a permit." I held up a copy of the violation note the inspector had emailed me, the city seal crisp in the corner, the lines simple and cold. A few neighbors leaned forward to see the emblem. The clerk adjusted her glasses. "We received the same notification." "Thank you, Mr. Rios." "Then we're done," I said. "Enforce your own rules." Chase glided into the well of the room. "It's a misunderstanding," he said to the board, not to me. "We have family visiting. I also have a letter from the homeowner's daughter authorizing my management of scheduling and arrivals. The city will see that." He lifted the sheet just enough for the board to catch the signature angle, not enough for anyone else to read. Lena's name, in a shape that looked like hers from across a room, sat where he wanted it. I felt my jaw lock. The chair reached for the inspector's note on the table, pinching its corner like it might bite. She pursed her lips, then aimed neutrality at the room. "Our bylaws require a full board vote for fines of this size." "I'm not asking for theater," I said. "I'm asking for enforcement." Chase gestured delicately toward my visible document. "If the city needs additional context, we'll provide it." "We're cooperating fully," Gloria stood. He told a couple, no one is paying, while they carried a house manual to a rideshare. "This isn't context, it's a story." A few neighbors hummed agreement. A man in sandals shook his head. "We all saw the suitcases." Chase's smile brightened. "Relatives can own suitcases." The clerk cleared her throat, grateful to recite something official. "Per Section 7.3, any fine over $500 must be voted on at a scheduled meeting with quorum present." "And when is that?" I asked. She slid an index card toward the chair. The chair nodded. "The annual summer barbecue. Monday evening." She let the next word dangle, softening it as if it were a favor. "Public." A murmur ran through the seats. Someone joked about burgers and bylaws. Somebody else whispered, "Finally." I took one step forward, holding the inspector's email printout a little higher. City saw a violation. Are you freezing this because you're scared of a signature on a homemade permission slip? Chase sighed, full of patient concern. It's not homemade. It's family. Family isn't a permit, I said, and a forged blessing doesn't make crime kindness. The chair rapped the gavel once. Let's keep language measured. Gloria's voice cut in, steady. Measured language is how liars win. He waved a draft policy as scripture last month. This month it's a family letter. Always paper, never truth. Chase pivoted to kindness, the blade he loves best. Marty, for your sake, and Lena's, why not let us manage the day-to-day? No one wants to see you stressed. I'm not stressed, I said, my heart calm enough to scare me. I'm robbed. Phones glimmered like quiet stars. I felt the weight of my keys in my palm and let them press down until they gave me an anchor. Hope flickers, then is crushed by a single stamped word. Adjourned. I could hear that word coming before the gavel did. The clerk leaned into her mic. We have a motion to acknowledge receipt of the city's notice and to prepare a fine consistent with the code. A board member said, Second. Another raised a hand, eager to be useful. Point of order. If Mr. Whitaker's letter exists, we should freeze any fine until the full board votes. Of course, the chair said, smoothing it into inevitability. Out of fairness to both parties. Fairness looks different when you're standing outside your own door, I said. Chase held the letter at hip height, easy as a man holding a beverage. He didn't need to show it. He only needed to let people imagine it perfectly valid. That's his trick. Make a room do his lying. A neighbor by the aisle whispered, They'll vote Monday. Maybe that's good. Maybe, I said. My phone buzzed. Lena's voicemail. You're embarrassing us in front of the whole community. Please stop this. I didn't put it on speaker. I didn't need another room hearing me get scolded like a teenager. I stared at the city seal instead. Funny how a small emblem could look like a lighthouse and a puddle depending on where you stood. Motion to freeze pending full board vote at the Monday barbecue, the chair said. Hands rose, more than enough. The gavel touched wood, gentle, almost tender. Hold on, I said. At the barbecue? Between raffle tickets and potato salad? That's your courthouse? It's our largest community gathering, she said. Increased transparency. Or cover, Gloria said. Chase faced the crowd, voice bright. We'll be there. Happy to answer any questions. Answer one now, I said. Who signed the letter authorizing you? He tilted the page, flashed the curve of Lena's name, then lowered it. You really want to drag your family through this? You already did, I said. The chair stacked papers, an audible end. We're concluded on this item. The fine, she paused, wording it like a ribbon on a gift, is frozen until full board vote at the Monday barbecue. She looked at me. You have your venue. The projector card in the corner hummed as if it remembered last week's cruelty. I folded the inspector's note and slid it into my folder, the seal peeking out like a weak sun. Neighbors filed past, tossing looks onto the floor so they didn't have to hand them to my face. Gloria stayed beside me until the room thinned. Chase stepped close enough for his cologne to arrive before his words. Public setting, Marty. Careful what you ask for. I'm counting on public, I said. Truth is allergic to closed doors. He chuckled, friendly as a snake. See you Monday. I left without shaking. Outside, the humid air met me like a wall of warm cloth. I looked up at the banner already zip-tied across the fence. HOA, Summer BBQ. Monday, 7:30 p.m. A paper plate fluttered in the breeze, skittering along the asphalt until it caught under a tire and stopped cold. The countdown had a smell now, charcoal and cheap condiments. I could live with that. The only thing worse than waiting was waiting alone. Gloria tucked her arm through mine. We're not alone. No, I said, just adjourned. The sprinklers ticked in the courtyard like a slow metronome, counting out the morning I couldn't afford to waste. I cleared the little kitchen table and set the brown folder in the center. Keys to the left, pen to the right, coffee dead ahead. The folder looked too thin for what my life had turned into. Gloria arrived with a legal pad and the confidence of someone who has wrangled school boards and car mechanics. We outline first, she said, pulling out a chair. Short sentences, clean facts, no adjectives they can weaponize. I can live without adjectives, I said. I just want verbs. She smiled. Then write them down. We started with headings: timeline, incidents, city note, requested action. I numbered each line. The room stayed small and steady as my hand moved. My pen trembles, but the words steady themselves on the page. Dates, Gloria said, tapping the pad. Don't stack numbers, just the important ones. Saturday lockout at 9 a.m., I said, writing. Monday evening doctored video played. Then the inspector, she added. Say, city noted apparent violation. Keep it plain. I wrote it exactly like that. Plain felt like armor today. Include your stake, she said. Don't hide the heart. I nodded and wrote, I am the homeowner on record. She peered at the line and gave a small, approving grunt. Good. Next, what you're asking them to do. Unfreeze the fine and reinstate my access. Separate those asks, she said. Boards like checkboxes. I split the sentence into 2 lines and felt something loosen in my chest, as if the breath I'd been holding since the porch shove had finally remembered what a rib cage was for. My phone buzzed. Lena. I stared at the screen like it might blink a different name if I waited. It didn't. I answered. Hi. Her sigh reached me before her words. Dad, please stop writing complaints. Chase says it only makes you look hostile. Hostile is a shove, not a sentence, I said. You're turning neighbors against us. I'm asking them to read, I said. If that turns them, maybe we weren't facing the same way to start. Marty, she caught herself, corrected. Dad, I'm trying to help. Then say you didn't authorize rentals, I said. Say it out loud next to him. Silence opened and stayed open. I could hear her breathing, steady and far. Please, she said at last, just don't make a scene at the barbecue. I won't make a scene, I said. I'll make a record. She exhaled hard. I have to go. The line clicked dead. Gloria waited, eyes sympathetic, but not soft. You okay? No, I said, but I'm writing straighter. We returned to the page. I added a section called Public Impact, 3 bullet points only. Locks changed. Reputation harmed by edited clip. City burdened with false family claim. Gloria drew a check mark next to each and said, Stop there. Don't argue feelings, show costs. I slid a fresh sheet into the stack and began the cover page. To HOA Board. From M. Rios, Access and Enforcement Request. The headings looked official enough to make my hands calmer. I kept my sentences marching the same way. Tight, clear, no place for someone else's voice to hide. Quote exactly 1 line they can't ignore, Gloria said. Short. I wrote, City Inspector observed apparent violation at premises. Short-term rental indicators present. Perfect, she said. Now, where you'll put this? Top, I said, under timeline. Good. We built a 1-page appendix, a list of attachments I would bring later, the inspector's email printout, the meeting notice, without actually attaching them here. Prep, not filing. The folder grew by a few thin pages, but it felt heavier. Outside, the sprinklers cycled off. The room fell quiet in a way that made every scratch of my pen sound like progress. Language check, Gloria said. Anything weaselable? I scanned down the page and crossed out seems, replacing it with was shown. I changed I feel to I witnessed. I removed 2 justs that made me sound like I was asking permission to speak. Better, she said. They'll still try to wriggle, but we'll leave fewer gaps. We kept going. I added a concluding line. I request that the board place this memo into the record and schedule me to speak for 5 minutes at the next open session. It felt strangely courteous, like handing a knife back to someone handle first. I signed my name at the bottom of the cover page. The loop of the R came out cleaner than it had in months. Read it out loud, Gloria said. If it sounds reasonable to the ear, it survives the minutes. I did. My voice didn't crack. The words didn't wobble. When I finished, Gloria nodded like a coach who knew the play could work if the other team didn't cheat. Tone's right, she said. You're firm, not furious. I am furious, I said. Save that, she said. You'll need it when someone pretends not to hear. The microwave clock blinked 11:42. Not a deadline, just a reminder that time keeps happening whether a board reads your paper or not. I slid the cover on top, squared the edges, and tapped them even with my knuckles. My keys lay beside the folder, quiet and obedient in the one place I still commanded the room. Monday, Gloria said, standing. We'll file before the barbecue. Keep this draft clean until then. No edits in the parking lot. No edits in the parking lot, I echoed. She squeezed my shoulder. Call if you waver. I won't. After she left, I sat a minute longer with the fan pushing warm air and the coffee gone cool. I added a sticky note to the folder's inside flap. Read aloud if interrupted. It was a promise to myself more than a plan. Then I wrote, to HOA board, across the cover in a firm hand, and slid the page into the front sleeve. The plastic made the words shine like they meant more, like they could not be smudged. I pressed the folder closed and held it a beat longer than necessary. When I let go, it stayed flat on the table, solid, patient, waiting. The HOA counter smelled like toner and lemon. I set my brown folder down, keys beside it. Forms are online, the clerk said. I brought a memo for the record, I answered. A receipt is louder than rumors. She eyed the line, then held out her hand. I passed the cover page. She squared it on a rubber pad, reached for the heavy stamp. My phone buzzed. Do not speak tonight, Lena. I typed, I will, on record. Name? The clerk asked, though it was printed there. Rios. She poised the stamp. We both inhaled. The thud landed, ink blooming, received, across the corner. For once the sound favors me. She blew on the page, made a quick ledger note, clipped the memo into a tray labeled, Tonight. Then she slid me a slip with a lighter version of the same stamp. Board reviews at 7:30 p.m. at the barbecue, she said. 5 minutes. No shouting I'm hoarse, I said. A neighbor leaned in, pretending to cap his pen. Good, he murmured. About time. The clerk nodded at my keys. We don't decide possession here. I'm not asking you to, I said, placing the keys atop the stamped page. Just to remember I exist. She hesitated then. Be early. Outside, heat lifted off the lot. I opened the folder once more. Received, held, edges crisp. I closed it, palm flat on the cover, the keys a small weight that kept the paper from lifting. Tonight had a time. My words had a seat. The knock wasn't a neighbor's. It had rhythm, official, practiced. I opened the screen door to a woman in a polo with a county badge on a lanyard. Clipboard tucked to her side, pen ready. Mr. Rios? Yes. I'm Carla with Adult Protective Services. I need to leave you a notice regarding a wellness evaluation. Her voice was neutral, like a level held against a wall. Across the street, Chase appeared on my porch like he'd grown there. He leaned on the post, arms folded, watching. Two neighbors slowed their dog walk to a drift. What's this about? I asked. We received a concern about possible confusion and unsafe behavior, Carla said. This is a routine step. From who? I said. She didn't bite. I can't disclose reporters. I can show you the window for the evaluation. She lifted the clipboard so I could read the header. In big block type, a single line stared back. 72 hours. The numbers weren't loud, but they might as well have used a siren. Being ruled unsafe on my own step hollows me out. Chase called, bright as a firework. Make sure he understands. He gets mixed up. He smiled at the neighbors, the way a man smiles at an audience he thinks he owns. I kept my eyes on Carla. I'm not mixed up. I'm the homeowner. I was shoved off my porch and turned into a roomer. I don't make determinations, she said. I schedule evaluations. You can choose a time within the window. A refusal can result in escalations or a welfare check. Schedule it, Chase chimed, but he needs supervision sooner rather than later. Not your turn, I said, and didn't look at him. Monday evening, there's an HOA vote. After that, I'll be available. Carla nodded once, a professional compromise. We can pencil a tentative slot for tomorrow afternoon. I do need an acknowledgement that you received this. She tapped the top page. The 72 hours line looked like it had been printed to humiliate. A car door shut. Lena hurried up the walkway, hair still damp like she'd left the sink running to chase this moment. Dad? What's happening? Nothing I didn't expect, I said. Carla offered a small, sympathetic smile. Miss Whitaker, Lena said, eyes flicking to Chase like she'd stepped into the wrong room and couldn't find the exit. Is this really necessary? He's fine, he gets stubborn. That's not a clinical category, I said. Dad, her voice tried to be gentle and came out tired. Just cooperate. Cooperation can't mean signing away my life on the sidewalk, I said. I'll talk. I won't be labeled. Chase descended my steps a few inches, hands raised in saintly theater. No one is labeling. We're caring. I met his eyes at last. Confusion isn't my problem. Editing is. A couple of neighbors made those little throat sounds people make when they're not sure they're allowed to laugh. Chase's smile thinned. Carla cleared her throat. Let's stay on track. Mr. Rios, I need to hand you this notice. It outlines the 72 hours and who to call. I am happy to note that you appear oriented today. Good, I said. Please note that I am also angry, which is an orientation of its own. Lena touched my sleeve. Dad, please. This could go on your record. So could cowardice, I said, softer than I felt. I'll answer fair questions. I won't give your husband another prop, a neighbor whispered. Prop, and the word rolled down the sidewalk. Carla wrote one quick line on her pad, the kind of line that makes a life official. Tomorrow at 2? She asked. Pencil, I said. Subject to the vote tonight. They made the lie public, I'll make the record public. Understood. She slid the form free, the paper whispering against the clip. This is yours. She held it out. I took it. The sheet wasn't heavy, but it put weight on my hand anyway. 72 hours stared up at me like a dare. Chase clucked his tongue. Don't lose that, Marty. Big decisions in there. I've kept bigger, I said. Lena lowered her voice. He's trying to help. He's trying to win, I said. Carla tucked her pen away. If you have concerns about the referral, you can tell the evaluator. We look for patterns, not isolated moments. Then you'll want the whole video, I said, not the version with the middle carved out. She didn't ask for details. That wasn't her job. She gave the clipboard a small, resigned pat. I'll see you tomorrow, unless you call to reschedule. I nodded. You'll see me. She turned to go. The dog walkers pretended to examine their leashes. Chase stayed where he was, bright as a hazard vest. Lena's voice broke on the edge of a whisper. Can you just not talk at the barbecue? Let the board handle it? They've been handling it, I said, like a magician handles a coin. Please. I'll be measured, I said, and loud enough to hear. Carla reached the curb. Take care, Mr. Rios. You too, I said. Chase waited until her car doors shut, then called out for everyone within a half block. 72 hours, Marty. Clock's running, he added, with a laugh that wanted to be generous. Confused old man. A pulse burned in my neck. I slid the notice into my folder. My fingers missed the pocket. The keys slipped from my hand and clinked down the concrete steps, a sound too clear for a day this dirty. I watched them settle in the sun, bright, useless. I didn't bend to pick them up. Not yet. The next door ping started while the afternoon light still had teeth. A neighbor's FYI post, then Chase replying under it with a gentle voice sharpened for crowds. We're doing our best with a difficult situation. Screenshots spread faster than sprinklers. Gloria called before I could type anything. Don't jump in, she said. Screens make liars taller. I won't, I said, fingers hovering. Save it for 7:30, she added. Live people. Witnesses. I slid my keys into the kitchen drawer so I wouldn't hear them. The silence felt like a dare. I scrolled anyway. Comments braided into rope. Aggressive behavior. Security concern. Think of Lena, a woman I once helped jump a car, wrote, "Some folks shouldn't live alone." My name turned into a warning label. Watching my name turned into a warning label. A new email flagged the top of my inbox, subject line in bold, unkind font. Coverage suspended pending occupancy verification. I opened it. The body spoke in insurance. Hold, underwriting review, allegations of non-owner occupancy. Beneath it, my calendar ping glowed. BBQ vote, 7:30 p.m. The only friendly thing on the screen. Gloria again. Breathe. That hold is a squeeze, not a verdict. We'll get the city's note in front of real eyes. "It's my roof," I said, staring at the word suspended like it could fall on me. "He's trying to take the sky." "Then hold it up," she said, at the microphone. The doorbell rang. Two teens crossed my sidewalk, glancing at their phones as if my house were a location in a game. "Hey, mister," one said. "Is it true you?" The other tugged his arm. "Come on." They left a bubble of laughter on my steps. I texted under Chase's thread, just one line. "See you at 7:30 with the full clip." No arguments, no extra breath. Let the sentence stand like a stake. Within a minute, a reply. "We hope he doesn't escalate," from someone who once borrowed my hedge trimmer and never brought it back. Her name sat above 3 heart reacts. Lena's text arrived like a gavel. "If insurance cancels, we lose everything. Stop." I typed, "We lost more the day he lied." She fired back, "This isn't helping. Truth doesn't help liars." I sent. Then I put the phone face down so I wouldn't keep bleeding. Outside, a couple walked past my window slowly enough that accidental felt silly. The man pretended to point at clouds while angling his camera. I stepped into the doorway. He lowered the phone and studied his shoes. People loved the safety of a chorus. Gloria texted a screenshot. The same smear duplicated in a neighborhood Facebook group with the caption, "Concern for community safety." "Don't answer there either," she wrote. "Let them come to the grill and listen." I opened the drawer and touched the keys without lifting them. Cold metal met the heat in my fingers. I shut the drawer again and leaned on it until the latch clicked. Another email, same subject line, this time from my agent. "Temporary hold while they verify occupancy. Please provide documentation." Documentation. I laughed out loud. One bark that scraped my throat. They wanted paper to fix paper. I called the agent. He said the things agents say. Routine, policy, should be fine. When he asked for a letter from authorized household management, I ended the call before my voice said something it wouldn't forgive. Next door pinged again. Chase thanking everyone for compassion. A neighbor added, "Prayers for the family." I typed a reply, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Gloria's voice in my ear. "Don't jump in." I let the thread clatter forward without me. The kitchen clock had been wrong for months. I trusted the calendar ping more. B, Q, vote, 7:30 p.m. Hovered like a little lighthouse. I tapped the screen to make it pulse. Another text from Lena. "If the roof goes, we can't fix it, Dad. If the truth goes, there's no roof," I wrote. Then I softened it. "I'll be measured tonight. Come stand with me." No reply. For a moment the house went quiet, a tired lung before the next cough. I cleaned the counter that didn't need cleaning. I checked the folder with my memo and slid the stamped slip into the front sleeve so it showed. I opened Victor's text from this morning, 48 hours, and let it sit beside the insurance line. My life had sprouted more clocks than rooms. A neighbor knocked once, apologetic. "Just checking if you need anything," he said, not stepping in. He looked at my hands instead of my face. "I need my name back," I said. He nodded without knowing how to agree. "See you tonight." He meant, "I'll watch." I reopened the email and read the subject again, as if repetition might wear a groove I could step out of. Coverage suspended pending occupancy verification. It stared back, unblinking. The screen threw a reflection of my face across the words, tired lines over legal ones. Gloria texted, "Leave early. I want you seated front row, center mic." "Copy," I wrote, keys in pocket, mouth steady. I pulled the drawer open a final time and took the keys out. Cold, then warmer as they learned my hand. I locked the door behind me, habit more than necessity, and stood a second to listen to the neighborhood breathe. Grills clicking, kids shouting, that faint metallic ring from tent poles going up near the clubhouse lawn. On the porch step, I checked my phone one last time. The top of the screen held two lines like crossed swords. Coverage suspended pending occupancy verification, and BBQ vote, 7:30 p.m. I let both sit there. One promised to take my roof. The other promised me a microphone. I pocketed the phone, curled my fingers around the keys, and started walking. String lights hummed. The banner read, HOA, Summer Barbecue, 7:30 p.m. I set my keys on the podium. "My name is Marty Rios," I said. "I get my name back tonight, not by force, by proof." Victor rolled the projector into place. "Unedited segment, continuous time code," he said, and hit play. On the screen, my door, my key failing. Then the knob jerks from the inside. Chase's voice, clear. "We have no space here, old parasite." Leave his shovelands. The time code runs steady. Gasps. Phones rise. Chase blurted, "It's doctored." "Victor, it isn't." I faced the crowd. "You cut the video. Tonight it cuts you." The city inspector stepped forward. "Unauthorized short-term rental. Fine and lien pending." An insurance rep lifted a hand. "Coverage voided by misrepresentation." Neighbors turned as one toward Chase. Gloria stood beside me, a quiet yes. Lena reached my shoulder. "Don't humiliate us." "Truth humiliates the liar," I said, keeping my voice even. "I get my name back tonight, not by force, by proof." The chair raised the gavel. "Given verified footage and statements. Mr. Rios's rights reinstated, effective immediately. Mr. Whitaker barred from managing the property, 30 days to vacate. Short-term rentals banned." I pocketed my keys. They felt like themselves again. Chase went white. He stepped to the mic, hands shaking. "Marty, please, don't ruin me." I'm sorry, I went too far." Gloria nodded once. "Say it to them." He faced the lawn. "I'm sorry." The gavel fell. The wood spoke for everyone. Under the lights, the screen froze on the shove. The time code a small, stubborn truth. Lena's hand lifted, then fell. I gave her a level look and stepped back as the mic squealed and settled. By 10 a.m., the heat already had an opinion. The HOA clerk and a process server stood on my porch with a single sheet, red header like a stoplight. She smoothed the top corner flat and pressed blue tape over it. "Per board order," she said. The paper breathed once in the breeze and settled. Removal notice sat loud at the top. Under it, in bold, a single line, "Vacate by October 14th. For once, the paper on my door guards me. Across the street, Chase opened his door, my door, and froze at the sight of a second copy going up on that frame. A few neighbors paused their dog loops to read without reading. The clerk cleared her throat. "Access restored as of last night. Mr. Whitaker is barred from managing or altering this property. 30 days to vacate." She kept her eyes on the notice, not my face, like fairness was something you can only look at sideways. "Understood," I said. A locksmith in a sun-faded polo arrived as they left, tool roll under his arm. "Rios? That's me." He knelt, backed out the wrong cylinder Chase had installed, and set it on the mat like a pulled tooth. The new set slid into the pocket where it had always meant to live. He turned the plug. The mechanism answered. Click. "Try it," he said. I did. The latch threw and returned like a taut muscle. He placed 2 fresh keys in my palm, cut twins, sharp at the edges. Behind us. "Marty," Chase called, hands up, voice pitched soft for the audience. "We don't have to be like this." I kept my tone level. "It's not personal. It's posted." He glanced at the red header and tried a smaller voice. "The 30 days, I mean with logistics." "The date is generous," I said, "and written." His jaw worked. No more speeches came out. My phone rang. "Insurance agency," the screen read. "Yes." "Mr. Rios, we're calling to confirm the temporary hold has been lifted. Policy remains in force. Misstatements tied to third-party management are under separate review. The voice was brisk, unruffled. Thank you. Anything further we can help with? You just did, I said, and ended the call before relief could make me say more. Carla from APS walked up the path next, sun on her badge. Mr. Rios, I wanted to tell you in person. Based on last night's verifications and today's check-in, we're closing the referral. No evaluation required. You came to my door with a clock, I said. I won't hold this against you. We prefer to close them, she said, and gave a quick human smile. Stay well. I will. Lena arrived as Carla left. A car door shut pressed into her expression. She took in the notice, the locksmith packing tools, the way the key teeth were still crisp. 30 days is harsh, she said. It's mercy, I said, and it's written. She looked past me toward Chase, who hovered in the middle distance, smaller now without an audience. He says he'll get storage. He has a calendar, I said gently. So do I. She swallowed. Dad, I'm not here, I said soft. Not with him listening. She nodded, a small, grateful injury. I'll call later. I'll answer, I said. Later. The locksmith zipped his roll. Anything else, Mr. Rios? One last turn, I said. He stepped aside. I closed the door from the inside and locked the new cylinder. One turn, then two, the bolt sliding home with a sound like a promise. When I opened again, the porch looked the same but truer. Chase edged closer. If you need me to explain anything to the board. You already did, I said, on video. His eyes flinched at the word. He nodded once, brittle, and retreated to the other notice, the one fluttering on his borrowed doorframe, reading the date as if numbers could be negotiated. I crossed my own threshold and hung the new keys on the little wooden hook by the kitchen. They belong there the way a name belongs on a mailbox. The house's quiet felt earned. Light pooled on the floorboards. The air had the faintly sweet smell of cut brass from the new lock. I picked up the spare key, weighed it, and set it down again. Outside, a breeze lifted the edge of the notice across the street. Vacate by October 14th, flashed, a red underlined fact no one had to shout. My phone buzzed, Lena, and I let it go to vibration, not silence. Some calls you take after you sit a minute and let the room agree you're home. I turned once around the small entryway, not a victory lap, just a measure, and pressed my palm to the inside of the door. Warm wood, a solid hinge, paper in the right place. Welcome back, Gloria said from the walkway, smiling into the open frame. Feels like it, I said. Keep your receipts, she murmured. I've got one on the door. She tipped her chin at the red header. Good. When she left, I locked the door again, gentle this time, and stood with my ear to the house, listening to it hold. The phone hummed once more on the counter. I let it. On the porch, the notice flapped, then lay flat. Inside, the keys glinted on the hook, where they belonged, catching a bar of sun. Morning sits quiet over the porch I finally own in full view again. Patience did what anger never could. It trimmed the lie to size and made room where they swore there was no space here. I hang my name back inside the door and breathe. The key turns once, clean metal, one bright click. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Type 1 if you resonate with this story.